In the bottom right, in the blue, he's for Storm. It's Gerald.
And up here at the top left-hand side, the red Protoss player is going to be Spatz, representing Berserker Esports. Oh, I do love me some PvP. You know, I know it's gotten a lot of like love and hate, people switching sides over the course of the past like, you know, year or two or something. But to me, this has always been my favorite mirror matchup, in my opinion, Beowulf. It's always been the most fun.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's always been my favorite mirror. It certainly has ebbs and flows.
Even during the 4-gate versus 4-gate era Beowulf, I have loved this matchup. I'll tell you why. It's not because I'm a Protoss player. It's because I always felt like, and I say this as a viewer, as a player, I hate this matchup. This matchup gives me nightmares. But as a viewer, I feel like it's always been a very fun showcasing of like micro and decision making and a wide variety of, it's either we've been in a meta where there's some really interesting and very flashy micro that happens, or we're in an era where there's a massive diversity in build orders and opportunities and things that you can do.
Like, for example, potential proxy Stargate, proxy Robo, something like that is Spatz. He does have this pylon on the map. There we go. Stargate on the way. So, aggression early on. And with these extra adepts here, I'm really curious to see whether Spatz is going to go for more than 2. Because if you there is a version of this build where you go and you pair up a bunch. You bring like 4 or 6 adepts across the map with your oracles. And it becomes very difficult for the Protoss player just to be able to handle the sheer amount of aggression that comes in. And did Gerald block his own natural?
I was just looking at that too. And I think 1 hex might be blocked there. I think that he may have trouble with that.
Yeah, that could be a bit of a problem. Now, here, just decide if you want to go on the map. And I mean, look, there's this probe here as well, and you're just going to go all in. Maybe that's something, but look at this. Oh, I love this. This means that there can be no wall, and oh, he gets the block as well. But there we go. Gerald, he is able to get the block at the end of all things, but even still, how do you get Stalkers back in the main? Luckily, there's a shield battery, so that's something. Where is our Oracle? Did it get canceled?
He didn't even get one out. Yeah, because the Stalkers ended up finding the pylon, and we're taking that out. The Adepts do manage to make their way back in, because as it turns out, investing, what is that, 250 or like 350 resources into a gateway and double pylon wall is pretty expensive, and you eventually end up having to cancel some of that stuff. But Spatz does not want to really commit to that, so he ends up canceling the Shade, waits for 4 Adepts, and is going to try and go back in yet again.
And this time they're going to Shade on top of the army, and 4 Adepts, at least they beat the 2 Adepts here, and yeah, they're going to get the Stalker as well, so that means the Gerald has to run back. And is this Nexus off center? Are we crazy?
That has to be off center.
Maybe it's not.
Right? Oh, you know what? Wait, I think this might just be that illusion of the map because of like how the tiling works. Yeah. I do remember people talk. This hasn't happened to me, like, so I haven't been personally affected by it. But I know a lot of people have talked about how they constantly get confused, feeling like they're off center because of the tiling on the map.
Yeah, because not only is like the tiling, okay, it looks a little off center, we're so used to maps kind of telling you exactly where to put your natural, right? They got the box, or they got the square, they got carpets or something. This is, yeah, you know, drop your expansion right here. You got to. So, yeah, maybe that's not all that bad. Maybe we're just absolutely confused by the tiling here. Is now Depth's thinking about going in, and there's no wall, so they're going to find their way in. A couple probes hit the deck. This should be the death of the Adepts, but still, 3 probes. There we go. 3 probes, a scout. Hey, not bad for Spatz.
Yeah, definitely not too shabby for those 2 Adepts. I was a little bit surprised. I thought he would commit to some of those other Shades, especially since, you know, the longer that you take to actually finally do the Shade and end up committing to it, the more units your opponent will have. So I thought there was maybe some opportunities to get some more damage done earlier, but I definitely can't hate on it too much, as 3 probes plus the scout is not too shabby. And he is going to be hitting with this nice attack with the proxy pylon, everything set up over here, 4 gateways to warp in. So he's going to be overpowering with more gateways. He's going to have a faster blink. This is his big timing window.
It really is. The Stalkers, they're going to get on top of it immediately. No shield battery overcharge, not just yet. Force fields are nice, really segmenting this army off. So Stalkers are going to continue to fall here, and Spatz really hasn't lost all that much, not just yet. But now the sentry's going to go down, and he's going to have to reset for a moment. So where do we stand? It's 6 Stalkers to 5. Shield battery overcharge, again, it's ready and waiting. There is, I hope, enough energy in the main. Yeah, yes, not quite, but close enough. And the shield battery is very full of energy. So Spatz round 2, he's going to have to get a little bit more.
Yeah. So playing forward again to one-shot these Stalkers. This is going a little bit better, but as soon as he ended up losing one of those Stalkers or isn't able to get a shot off, he's no longer one-shotting his opponent's Stalkers. Shield battery overcharge? Anytime? No, he doesn't have the energy on the main Nexus, or the natural Nexus. He has it on the main Nexus, though. There it is, finally coming out.
Yeah, just barely got it in time. I think he thought he had a little bit more time for this pressure to hit, right? A little bit more time for him to go and kind of maybe get another warp in around, get a couple more chronos out, get that immortal out quick as he please. But Spatz did not want to give him that time, so more Stalkers will fall. And now there's no shield battery overcharge to keep this Colossus alive. I would not be surprised to see Spatz just jump on top of it. But Gerald, for now, he's microing well. He's only down to about 4 army supply, and realistically, those immortals, they make up for a lot, but now Spatz tries to get on top. It's a big wall of Stalkers. If that immortal stays alive, that's a couple dead Stalkers. Gerald was in a bit of a scary position, and make no mistake about it, production is still in Spatz's favor. But Gerald's doing a great job of holding on.
Yeah, and actually keeping that immortal alive may have actually just been the turning point for this game, I think, because a second immortal will now pop out. Now suddenly blinking forward onto the army to snipe off an immortal, it's going to be a lot more costly because you may snipe one immortal, but the second immortal is going to be able to lay waste to your Stalker army. The Stalker army for Spatz is not that big anymore either. So I actually think that Gerald may have hit that turning point. I think he may have actually done well enough. It's not 100% guaranteed to hold now, but I feel like it's an 85-90% hold now.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I really like the addition of these adepts here. It forces Gerald to not just focus on the front, and you know, he's got to deal with adepts in the main or something. And it seems like Spatz wanted to get a blink in. Like, that was the idea: shade into the main, get vision, blink in, maybe hit from a different angle. But Gerald just killed the adepts too quickly, and now, well, Spatz is again looking for value. But I think it's very clear that this timing is over now. Gerald, he's gonna take the third base. Stalkers, they think about going into the natural, but no. Spatz just, he can't find that angle anymore. So what's his play? And it seems like charged DTs, that is actually going to be the play.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got to make some kind of magic happen. His Nexus was so much later. His economy is definitely not going to be as strong. He doesn't have units that are necessarily going to scale as well into the later stages as, yeah, some of the Stalkers are nice. Actually, you know, he has been adding on a lot of his own immortals, so I do kind of take that bit back. I think he is getting up some of those transitions a little faster than I thought he was, but it's still going to be a rough spot. He still has to make something happen, and oh, interesting. He's not only going to go for the Dark Shrine and the Charge Law, he's also going to hide his third Nexus. Interesting.
I mean, makes sense. You know you're behind, so you got to find some way back, and even if that is not, say, double expanding, but just convincing Gerald that you're on 2 bases. It's like, yeah, Gerald, you know what? I'm still all in. You got to play very carefully here. You got to maybe cut probes. That is a way to get back into the game. But for now, Gerald is Gerald has his third. He's still probing up, and he still has a solid defense. So it doesn't really seem like this is accomplishing all that much for Spatz, outside of maybe making sure that a run by doesn't kill his base later on. And there we go. Okay, double expand.
Okay, yeah, you know what? This is really interesting to me because in some ways I can totally see it, right? Like the double expansion play, you're making up for maybe like an awkward situation while hiding the 4th base. So it becomes a bit unexpected. Your opponent misunderstands maybe like the game state a bit. But the Charge Law Archon style, I feel like, is a really strong mid-game kind of army. I do like the idea of just doing straight up DT harassment, actually. Just straight up DT harassment I'm actually super on board with. But I was a little bit afraid that he would just be gearing up for a mid-game attack and not actually be capitalizing on having a superior economy. Like, he'd be forcing a fight before he really gets the opportunity to take advantage of his situation. But no, I actually think this is like a really, really nice move here.
Yeah, and for now he's gonna get the Robo Base, so that's gonna shut down Disruptor play for just a little bit. Stalkers warp in, but I think all the observers are on the other side of the map for the most part, so it's a nice scout. Shield battery overcharge trying to keep this Robo Bay alive, but
Pointless.
That's not gonna happen, yeah. And actually, the shield battery goes down as well. One DT hits the deck, and he's gonna get a second one. But on the balance of things, hey, you know, you slow down Gerald's disruptor timing a little bit. That's not bad.
Yeah, actually going to slow down a good bit, as that's going to prevent maybe like an extra 2 disruptors that could have been coming out during all this. So even though there are still quite a few already out, 3 disruptors have been made so far. But again, it's all about buying a little bit more time, because the longer that the game goes on right now, the better the economy is going to be for Spatz, and the more he can kind of capitalize on the fact that he did take a much faster 4th base, that he is already making 4 workers at a time. Even still right now, I think it's very important that Spatz does not really want to commit to a fight right now. I mean, he's down 30 army supply.
Yeah, that's a bit awkward here. And I understand the idea of like selling this idea that you're all in, but I mean, sometimes you sell a little bit too hard, and this army is getting evaporated. A couple of mortals go down. I mean, the Warp Prism is just desperately getting its way out of there, but that means you just lose a bunch of stalkers. And now, yeah, you know what? Spatz has 4 Nexi, and he can build 4 probes at a time. But unfortunately, that does not mean he actually can do more than that. And now the DT counteroffensive is getting far more damage done than Spatz ever found. This is 13 dead probes, and guess what? It's another dead Nexus. So this has not even existed long enough to really make it worth for Spatz at this point. In fact, the only thing for Spatz to do is tap out. Gerald, he holds on against the 4-gate blink timing, and that means that Gerald moves up 1.
Really, really rough kind of ending for that game, I feel like, for Spatz, because I liked a lot of the ideas he was kind of putting out there. And it's important to note that he was playing from behind. So like all of those things that he was doing was him trying to play from behind a bit. But, and I actually agree with what you were saying. I think most likely Spatz was trying to sell the story of like, look, I'm being aggressive because I can't just stay on my side of the map for too long, or it becomes really obvious that something is going on. But I'm definitely with you. I think that it was not really going to work out very well. I think even if you remove all the disruptors from Gerald's army, Spatz still had a worse army. Like, he was still going to lose the fight, even without the disruptors. So it was a very, very tough spot to be in, I think, for Spatz.
I mean, Archons against Stalkers. Okay, I can't make that argument.
They do splash damage. It's a splash damage unit. It's great.
Yeah, if Archons are making contact with your Stalkers, you have more problems than the splash damage. Like, let's be real here. But we do, of course, it's going to be a new map. It's going to be a new game. As tempting as it would be to say, oh, you know, Gerald's just a better player, whatever, that really comes down to the fact that A, the Proxy Oracle was scouted, and B, you know, Spatz tried to go for a follow-up for Gate. It also didn't work, but that's because he had spent money on the Stargate early on, and everything was just a little bit slower. So, you know what? Maybe game 2, we get to see what exactly Spatz looks like when he's not behind pretty significantly from the 3-minute mark. And it's the biggest map in the pool, so that helps too.
True that.
In the upper left, in the blue, up 1 game in this series for Psystorm, Gerald.
And down here in the bottom right-hand side of the map, our red Protoss player from Berserker Esports. He is Spatz.
Is he what it's like when you like stare in the sun too long?
Sunspots.
You see Spatz.
Yeah. See Spatz. Yeah, I was trying to figure out, actually, like, I don't actually know what his name is supposed to be. I don't know what's a reference to exactly, because you're right, there are a lot of different references that could be. Could be like spots. It could be, I feel like Spatz is like a different word for spunk or something. I don't even know. I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for what that could be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, clearly it's just a reference to Cerberus, right? You know, 3-headed dog of the underworld, because the fun thing, right? Okay, and I don't know that Spatz is actually spots in German. It probably isn't. But anyway, because I just think this is fun. Cerberus, right? In Greek, that means spotted one. So, you know, the Greeks were naming their scary 3-headed dog guardian of the underworld Spot. Just like Spatz. There we go. Clearly, this makes sense.
Cerberus had spots?
No, his name was Spotted One.
Oh, but he didn't actually. Okay.
By the way,
his name was Spotted One, but he didn't actually have spots.
I mean,
unlike Spatz' base, which has a spot of a proxy pylon.
Yeah, this is this is a way to play the game. I cannot believe that this pylon is going to get up here, and Spatz is just not checking at all. He's got his own robo on the way, his own proxy, but we're going to see a depths get warped. Well, actually, we're not, because this warp gate's pretty far away. Eventually, we're going to get a depths warped in. But I am really... Oh, wait, is he going to scout it? He's going to get it. Okay, Gerald is just on top of things. Spatz is not going to be allowed to accomplish this. And that means Gerald should be safe to defend at home, and then the whatever adepts they warp in, that might just be game ending.
This is like a Wings of Liberty build. This is so weird to see in the modern day. I feel like this happens so rarely in any kind of professional games. But I will say there is one kind of big danger here, which is when do you do the warp in? Because you know you're basically about to be all in with a proxy robo. If you use your warp in at the wrong time, you might actually just lose the fight. Even if adepts are in your main base, you could very well just straight up lose the fight and then you lose your main, whereas you've only done a bit of economic damage. So I do think Gerald has to be a little bit mindful of exactly when he uses that proxy pylon now.
Well, remember, one of the problems here for what Spatz went for, he went double adept early, which means, you know, if you get across the map, economic damage, fantastic. But if you don't, then you don't have those stalkers to defend your pylon. The adepts just went down as they did, and that really slows this pressure coming in from Spatz, which now, and on top of that, Gerald's on one base. He's not really trying to do all that much. He's not trying to defend the natural. And I think that makes it a little bit easier to defend, right? It's going up the ramp.
There's the warp in.
There's the warp in. Adepts in the... Spatz is going to be so confused right now. What is this? Where did these come from?
Yeah, this is actually just tilting because 2 adepts in your main base is quite literally just one of the simplest and cleanest ways to just end a PvP almost. It is it's one of the reasons why PvP can be a very frustrating matchup to play. 6 workers may not seem that bad when you compare it to how many workers these players actually have. That's like a fourth of your economy.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, Gerald's up 9 here. Now, Immortal Double Stalker, that does represent some damage. It one-shots probes, so there is that. But, you know what? I'm not really good at Math, Fear Dragon, but I'm pretty sure that 9 is better than 2.
No, I think you would be correct in most regards there. And in fact, there are still going to be a few more workers that go down. 1 adept dying does mean that the shield battery finally kicks in and will actually be able to heal up some of these units, but here's the other danger is that, yes, this Warp Prism harassment is nice. Blink is about to finish up. This Warp Prism harassment does not really work nearly as well after Blink finishes.
Yeah, that you got to be very careful here if you're Spatz. I mean, he's trying to find angles right where the stalkers are not quite where they need to be, as they actually do have to run away because it is a lot of damage. You know, Immortal Double Stalker annihilates this. But what we see, actually, somewhat surprised, Gerald's just running across the map with the rest of his stalkers, realizing that he can probably hold on here. And actually, that's not super convincing, but he does have stalkers on the map. He is killing this pylon. Seems like what was left in the main base has been dealt with. And I mean, for the most part, Spatz is making the best out of a pretty horrible situation. He's only down 5 workers, as opposed to 9 that was earlier. And he continues to get a couple more. Now Stalker's trying to get on top of the Warp Prism, trying to zone things out. And this is a problem now. Probes get pulled. The Warp Prism is dead. And yeah, that really should do it. Immortal goes down. Stalkers go up. You gonna kill it? There we go. Stalkers go down. And the economy is equalized. But the tech, you talked about it. I mean, this is 4-gate blink from Gerald right here. And I don't really know what stops him from just running across the map and blinking into his opponent's face.
I'm not sure Spatz knows what stops that. And if he knew the answer, I think he would be phoning a friend to get a little bit of help on that. There is a full wall off over there. Ah, the adepts forced the recall over there. That is kind of annoying because those adepts could have been one of those weird equalizing things where it pulls Gerald back after he's trying to like do his big aggression or something. The adepts show up and suddenly you just end up having to waste time. You're focusing on like microing that instead of microing your blink stalkers. But now, yeah, the stalkers should be able to potentially just move forward. They're going to go for the free pickoffs over here. He doesn't really have a proxy pylon, I guess. That is one thing that is going in Spatz's favor, is that as awkward as it is to have your Immortal outside of your wall in as you fully walled in, or like walled out your opponent, that one Immortal, it's like in a very awkward spot right now.
Yeah, and I do like these adepts actually in front. They're not what you want to kill, right? You want to kill stalkers, you want to kill the Immortal. So just having them there is a bit of a body block. It means that it's a little bit harder for Gerald to wedge his way up the ramp. It means you're maybe a little bit more worried about force fields, something like that. So it's just a little harder to get the Immortal, but now the Immortal, emboldened by the Warp Prism, does move down a little bit. And now there we go on the other side. So Gerald, he's expanding. I really thought he was going to end the game right there, but oh no. Oh, there's War Prism. Oh, I don't know how much I like this Spatz. This seems a little bit too ballsy.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit dangerous. Does keep the Prism alive, but is going to be losing quite a few of these other units. Even though Spatz, I have to commend him. He's doing a great job with the Blink Micro and everything. It's going to get a bit costly. Even though not a ton of units go down there, even just a handful of those units going down is really dangerous because he just didn't have that much to work with in the first place. Oh, great game sense over here for Gerald. He barely misses the War Prism though. Oh my God, he sensed it. He sensed it was happening, but just barely misses it.
I mean, I think he's still gonna find this perspective. Yeah, he's gonna get the Nexus. Okay. Spatz tried, and he really seems to have a love for proxy Nexi in this series, but it only works out if they get unscouted. If they go unscouted, and that one was very, very clearly scouted.
Really tough. Dark Temple coming on out, but there is an observer over here, and it's in the perfect spot. Okay, I was gonna say unfortunately it was in stationary mode, but he takes it out fast enough that you can snipe off one of the DTs, chase down the Prism, and what do you even do from here? What do you even do from here, Spatz?
You type 2 words. Or 2 letters, excuse me.
Draw?
Draw?
Draw, question mark?
I don't think those are
underrated strategy. Just ask for a draw when you're clearly behind.
Oh man, what was the game? We had a game like that last year, right? Where
I think it was Drogo versus Scarlet or something. Drogo was just like asked for a draw when it was very clearly like, yeah, I think he was just dead.
Scarlet wins 2 minutes later. It's like, yeah, no, you don't get a draw. Although it is hard for Gerald to break this army. You know, as much as we talk about how bad this is, there are 3 immortals in this army, and they do have the ability to blink a little bit. But the question now, do we see a 3rd War Prism go down? Well, Stalker's in the main. The wall working against Spatz here.
Yeah, this is a rough one, but I don't blame him for trying because he was already down 0-1, and that means that Gerald picks up his 2nd W here and takes the series 2-0.